Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffery Combs.
Good afternoon, Jeffery Combs. It is Tuesday, 2 for Tuesday. Good to be here with you. A long history of doing this Facebook Live. The origin of this Facebook Live actually goes back to a live conference call, September 1999. Started off as a 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live conference call, and then eventually moved it relatively soon to the standard, had a long-term standard called More Heart Than Talent mindset call, and it had oftentimes hundreds of people on the mindset call on Tuesday night at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. I interviewed Jim Rohn on 2 occasions, Dr. Joe Dispenza twice, John Assaraf multiple times, many successful people. At Ron White, the world champion of memory 3 times. So that was the origin of this Facebook Live. It originally started off as a 1-hour conference call that I hosted for many years. So good to be here with you. Facebook Live, breathe, release, and let go. No longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feeling. So the topic for today's Facebook Live is right here, letting go of doubt. And so doubt is going to be covered in this book right here, so letting go. So this really is a main staple for you. This book is an anchor for you. As you can see, mine is very beat up. It's traveled around the United States with me. I never took that book abroad. I started reading that book in the early 2013-14s. And that book has been many places with me. And anxiety, fear, and doubt is what I assist people to let go of. And these are energies based on emotions and events that we hold on to. It's events that shape the feelings, and feelings are what keep us in an emotional state. We feel rejected, we feel abandoned, we feel angry, we feel resentful, we feel overwhelmed, we feel grief, we feel apathy, we feel pride. These are the emotions that we tend to feel. Now, in the emotions, doubt is one. Doubt is not an emotion. Doubt is an energy, and doubt is anxiety. Anxiety is driven by the emotions. Doubt is another. It's an energetic state. It's a state of uncertainty, and this is a place where the lower self. So, if I had a whiteboard and I could draw on a whiteboard for you, I'd draw a capital S. That would be your higher self. And then below that, I draw a lowercase s. That would be your lower self. And so your lower self is anxiety, fear, and doubt. And then the emotions that I covered: anger, hate, resentment, frustration, disappointment. And then there is the guilt, shame, pride, abandonment, rejection, overwhelmed feelings. Those are the main emotions that will comprise anxiety, fear, and doubt. And then doubt is the place that most people put their foot on the boat and the foot on the dock. And so that's the safe place to avoid success. It's the safe place to avoid failure. And that's where a large percent of the world lives. And that's what leads to procrastination and avoidance. And then underneath all of that, the real cause that creates the effect of why we do what we do is a series of events that shape these feelings. The physical abuse, the sexual abuse, the critical mother, grandfather, father, sister, the narcissistic parent, or we grew up in an adult child or adult children of a narcissist, or a multitude of situations, or adult children of alcoholics, and we grow up in dysfunction, and in that fight or flight that we grow up in, and that unpredictability is when we start to flex and flinch in fight or flight. And it's in that energy that we continue to live in that keeps us in this doubt. And so doubt is the situation that will keep you from succeeding. And especially when it comes to a business of sales, branding, marketing, being an influencer, being an affluencer, being a coach, insurance agent, a real estate agent, a network marketer, direct salesperson, influencer, affluencer, any multitude of situations. So when you begin to leave what is comfortable, so if you have had a job or a career and you step out into the unknown, your ego is going to be typically a deterrent for most of society. Now, if you're addressing this by reading this book, coaching with me, doing the extra effort, 12-step meetings, whatever it is that you're doing, you're in the inside of this process of letting go. And as you begin to have a better understanding of the letting go is a skill, and there's a mechanism to it, and it's the separation between the feelings and the events that shape them. And as you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings, then you will be setting yourself free. And you'll be freeing yourself from the stories you tell yourself, the emotions you hold on to, and then the events that shape your feelings. And doubt is a major deterrent to this process, because doubt, once again, is the safe place to hang out. Doubt occupies a lot of space. Doubt occupies an avoidance. Doubt perpetuates avoidance and procrastination, and doubt is what leads to avoiding success and avoiding failure. And this is where so many people live. So and where does doubt come from? It typically comes from critical parents, environments that did not foster success, other people who traumatized you, narcissistic personalities that you continue to hold on to. And then it creates the state of conscious unconsciousness of not being good enough. And so once you're in this energy, these emotions, the identity of not being good enough, well, that can begin to own you. And so that means you doubt your decisions, you doubt your ability, you doubt your ability to be a leader. And this is what hinders so many people. They get into this story of doubt. I'm not sure if I can lead. I'm not sure if I can find any leads. I'm not sure how people are going to perceive me. I'm not sure what the outcome is going to be. And I'm not sure if I can stay sober. And I had a man just recently say to me, I asked him to have it create a picture of the way he wanted to look. And he said, I'm not sure if I can do that. And which is very common. That's a reflex. I'm not sure if. See, and this is why many people will say, but this is beginning to feel good, but I'm not sure if I can maintain it. I want to be successful, but I'm not sure if I could keep it. So but is one of those situations. What if is another one, and this is where many people live in doubt. And doubt is a reciprocal cycle that a large percent of the population lives in. And then it creates underachieving, under-earning. It creates emotional relapses. It creates addiction relapses. Because the ego that holds on to doubt, it creates a high and a low. And so that lower self-ego wants something to take the edge off. A bag of chips, a shot of alcohol, a vape, nicotine, a cigar, food, sugar, multitude of situations, because it wants to address the neurochemical craving that the lower self-ego creates by living in this doubt. And doubt also creates the payoff. And the payoff is in David Hawkins' book, The Map of Consciousness Explained. He calls it the experiencer. He does reference the term payoff. I've been calling it a payoff for years. Doubt is the payoff, because doubt creates disappointment. And then the ego lower self goes, well, this is stupid. This is dumb. Why would I do this? You will do this, whatever this is to you, to fulfill the neurochemical craving that keeps you emotionally addicted to a set of feelings, that keeps you in the emotion that is prevalent to you. So if under-earning and underachieving is a way of life for you, if carrying a lot of debt is a way of life for you, that is a payoff. And it's important that you let go, well, this doesn't make sense. It's not about making sense. It's about understanding why you do what you do, and then practicing the mechanism and skill of letting go, so you can live in the place where the pleasure isn't worth the payoff. And disappointment is doubt, and that's what the lower self preys on. And this is what you hold on to. And this is, once again, while you'll be in careers that will undercompensate you, you'll do menial tasks that'll pay you, you'll have challenges asking for your value, you'll be in guilt, you won't be able to ask what the free market would bear because you're afraid that the outcome, the person is going to think you're greedy or you're selfish, or whatever story you tell yourself, you will still tell yourself to avoid your own success because you doubt if you can keep it. So you don't keep success, you be successful. Success is a state of feeling. And so it also shows up in bank accounts and and you'll get compliments and gratitude. But it's important that you're comfortable enough with yourself that you can be successful. When you doubt your own ability, when you doubt your success, when you're coming from a low self-esteem. So confidence is how you feel about something. This is why you can be confident at bartending. You can be confident at being a mechanic. You can be confident in a job, but that doesn't mean that you have self-esteem. You can be confident as an athlete. Because someone makes millions of dollars does not mean that they have self-esteem. It means that they're very skilled at a specific situation, so you can be a skilled athlete and have no esteem, and after your career is over, you can doubt how you're going to make it. And this is very common for people, and this is why people lean into drugs and alcohol and other situations to fulfill the neurochemical craving that they're emotionally addicted to, left over from the residual repressed feelings. Now, if you read this book right here, Letting Go, David Hawkins, page 11 and page 199 break down the term repressed feelings. Repressed feelings are the feelings that come from back here. This is the hippocampus of your brain. This is the short, long-term memory. And when you've been under intense trauma throughout your life, sexual abuse, physical abuse, highly critical parents, critical spouses, wife, husband, and you've been highly criticized by a narcissist, this is what begins to create the brain fog. Because the body, the connection between the vagus nerve, which is from the neocortex of your brain, which goes down your back, wraps around your hip, and comes up through underneath your gut, you're disconnected, and you're living in that doubt, that fight or flight energy. This is what will lead to brain fog. And so your memory, which is up here, your hippocampus, that component of your brain actually enlarges. Right behind in here is where your amygdala is. That's a P-shaped gland that's your emotional search engine, the reticular activating system that searches for a familiar feeling. So if you can consistently feel not good enough, then you will find ways to get criticized, rejected, or you'll criticize yourself to perpetuate the same set of feelings that will give you your own set of permission to doubt yourself so you can procrastinate, avoid, and criticize yourself. That becomes a payoff. This is very challenging for most of the world to articulate. It's challenging for people to accept that they actually get a payoff. And I tell rooms of people, and I'll break the payoff down in a 2-year period. I will go step by step what the payoff means, and I will tell this room of people that if you can grasp what it means to continue to experience the experience of the payoff, if you grasp why you do that, then you will begin the process of letting go, the separation between the feelings and the events that create your disappointment, the separation between the events and the feelings that creates your feelings of being rejected or your worry about being rejected, the separation between the feelings and the events that keep you worried you're going to make a mistake. How many of you woke up and Facebook was off today and you went into fight or flight? How many of you honestly thought, oh my God, I did something wrong. My account's been shut down. Oh, I said some information. I was truthing and oh my God, my account shut down. See, that's a very, I was watching this morning on Instagram. Many of the people who share that type of content were going into the fight or flight. And I mean, just how many of you had some just absolute concerns over social media was crashing? And I mean, and this is what the ego does. It projects itself out into the future of what does not happen so that the body can create a neurochemical release. And that dopamine hit of fight or flight coupled with the low of, and it's followed by a cortisol drop, that's the spike that we get from going into that doubt. Someone gives you a compliment, and it's very common to have someone compliment a doubter, and the doubter goes into absolute fight or flight because they shut down and they start talking, not even hearing that they just received a compliment because their hippocampus is shut down. Their amygdala is enlarged. The prefrontal cortex, which is able to discern and decide, and you didn't hear the compliment because you went into fight or flight. Then the pineal gland, which is your direct connection to source, to God, to deity, to infinite intelligence, to the quantum field is also shut down because it's brain fog. And you got confused because you're in doubt. That's what happens. Someone's giving you a compliment and you doubt them. I've had people go, why would you say that about me? So when you give someone a compliment, this is a telegraph, you compliment them and they go into fight or flight, and then they put you in a position to explain the very compliment you just gave them. That's the doubt they live in, because they're doubting that they deserve to receive this compliment. They're doubting you at times because they're not even sure if you're genuine, because they're not genuine. And then they end up sabotaging the relationship by something as simple as a compliment. They ended up sabotaging the relationship because they doubt the compliment, and then this gives them the opportunity to fulfill their feelings of, this always happens to me. That is the payoff. When it always happens to you, it does happen to you because you keep recreating the same situation to fulfill the same set of feelings, to fulfill the doubt you live in. Doubt keeps your foot on the dock and the foot on the boat. You don't ever get in the boat in doubt. Doubt is what keeps you chronically avoiding, chronically procrastinating. What is the recipe to letting go of doubt? The recipe to letting go of doubt is acceptance. You accept the fact that I'm an under-earner, an underachiever. I'm not living up to my potential. I'm playing safe. I'm highly critical of myself. I have addiction challenges. I have codependent issues. It requires rigorous honesty to address the truth. That requires courage. Courage is a quality that is the recipe to truth. And once you have the courage to step into emotional sobriety, once you have the courage to address your doubt, the breakthrough factor begins to happen. The water begins to part. Nothing happens overnight. I have 35 years of drug and alcohol sobriety, and I used to live in my head for hours planning how I was going to drink, how I was going to steal, how I was going to debt, how I was going to take advantage of someone, how I was going to pull it off, how I was going to lie to someone, how I was going to sneak through the cracks. I mean, I lived so much in my head, and most importantly, I doubted myself, and I doubted that I could ever be sober. And so I lived in this neurochemical craving of this high and low, of never being good enough, hitting multiple rock bottoms until the pain was great enough. People have asked me thousands of times, how did you do it? What was the secret? There is no secret. I mean, for me, it was rock bottom. It's a very overrated place to break through from, but for me, that was where the answer was. That's where I found God. That's where I found Christ. That's where I became a Christian. That's where I found sobriety. That's where I found peace. That's where I began to find joy. And none of this happened overnight. 35 years, one day at a time, of recovery and learning the skills, the habits, the mindset of sobriety, of recovery, of higher consciousness, reading the books, mastering the skills of letting go. I've coached 26 years, 15,000 hours or 15,000 clients, 150,000 hours one-on-one, a lot of repetition and experience, becoming my own best student, trusting in God, trusting in the process, breathing, releasing, and letting go, improving daily on understanding more and more why I do what I do, why people do what they do, why the world is the way the world is, not living in the doubt on it, pulling the curtains back and looking behind the veil, understanding what Frank Baum wrote about when he wrote the book The Wizard of Oz. By the way, Frank Baum was an FM, so if you can figure out what that means, and Danslow, who printed the cartoons of that era, they both were part of the same club, and that club was all part of the club that's happening today. And that book was about the banking money system. And so this is where we're in today. There's a lot of control being placed upon us, and if you don't understand this, then let go of the doubt. If you have the courage to pull back the curtain, then you can see what the truth is. But the truth doesn't set you free. The truth gives you the playing field. Once you understand the playing field, provided you have the courage to let go of the doubt about how you're going to navigate 2024 and one day at a time and then beyond, then you're in the right place at the right time. So if you're really prepared to let go of your doubt, then there's going to be situations one day at a time that God will reveal to you. It's called the providence. The Lord will provide. And in that providence, if you if you have the courage to be a leader, then our country and our world requires you. That means it will require you to step up to be that man or woman that you're capable of becoming. And that's what requires courage, a quality that there's always a market for and never goes out of fashion. And that anchor, you anchor yourself with God and you anchor yourself with the feelings that I am good enough. That becomes the emotional sobriety you begin to live in. That's first base. That's the first base that you go to. And you anchor yourself right there, and I am good enough. The Lord will provide. So that's where abundance comes from. That's where manifestation comes from. That's where creativity, that's where the outcome comes from. And just like Aaron says, once your eyes are open, there's no going back. So once you know, you know. So when I see Hollywood actors and I know who they really are, and I understand this, when I watch the Super Bowls of today's world, and I understand all the numerology that's going on in there and the symbolism and the signs, and I've been studying this for years. I mean, I got exposed to this in the 90s, and so I'm not a novice at it. And the truth I understand doesn't set me free. It allows me to understand the black and white checkerboard that I only play on when I have to play on. And I understand the game, and I play the game just enough not to be in the game. And so once you know, you know. And that is when you let go of doubt. There's so many benefits to knowing the truth. As I said, the truth doesn't set you free. The truth allows you to know who your real enemy is. The truth allows you to know who Satan really is. The truth allows you to know how trauma-based mind control is used against you. When you see all these trails in the sky and these fires that are happening, and when you see the food industry doing this and doing that, and when you understand how people stand in line for a red pill and a blue pill, when you have an understanding of that truth, then you are no longer, you're not controllable. You're no longer going to be in doubt, because once you know, you know. It's a very liberating experience. It's not scary. Sobriety isn't scary. Sobriety is the other side of anxiety, fear, and doubt. Sobriety is where you're going to find your providence. Emotional sobriety, and then the other sobrieties go with it, will be so liberating for you that you won't waste your time being in doubt, because the pleasure is no longer worth the pain. If you're on my Facebook Live today and you have not accessed a free 20-minute coaching call from me, and you've considered coaching with me one-on-one, feel free to send me a Facebook message. I would be honored to speak to you. Provided you're seeking coaching service, I'd be honored to do a one-on-one coaching service with you. This call will be recorded. I'm going to hit Tara Cooper. Oh my God, Tara. So good to see you. So many years ago. I was your coach 12 years ago, Tara. Good to see you. And Diane, good to see you. Marty, thank you for joining me. Henry, always honored to hear. John Spencer, thank you for following me for many years. Henry, loved being your coach. Who else do we have here today? V. Yvette Smith, how are you today? Who else do we have? We have, Stephen Brantley. Thank you, Stephen. I'll never forget, I did an event in Stephen's church in Houston for him. Andrew, good to see you. Robin, good to see you. Roseanne, always good to see you, my Kansas homegirl. Tracy Washington, thank you. If you haven't sent me a friend request, please do so. Any of you, Timothy Hardy, Linda Davis, my neighbor down the highway. Helen, good to see you. Melina, and who else do we have here? Christina, Farzad, I want to make sure, Ruby, my superstar client, I want to make sure I didn't miss anyone, and Samantha Rose in Canada, honored. I believe if for some reason I missed your name, my humble apologies. Thank you very much for being here this afternoon. I'll be back here tonight, 9 p.m. Pacific. Breathe, release, and let go. Have a great evening. Have a great afternoon, everyone.